strictly for the culture. Brothers and sisters, you have seen the t-shirts, the hats, the hoodies, the mugs in the hands of some of your favorite pro wrestling stars, podcasters, and influencers out there. And now it's time. Visit strictlyfortheculture.ca and you too can be part of the movement. Bigger than sweatshirts and commercial success, Strictly for the Culture aims to build with like-minded people and elevate their position in the world through knowledge, self-love, and a desire to unite. So what are you waiting on? Visit strictlyfortheculture.ca. Do it for the love. Do it for the knowledge. Most importantly, folks, do it strictly for the culture.
You're locked in.
Look at what we have here, folks.
To the only show that matters.
The cream of the crop.
Duke loves wrestling.
And there is no one that does it better than
your host.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
The Duke.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Welcome back to the Duke Loves Wrestling podcast, the show about pro wrestling and everything else. Brothers and sisters, we made it. WrestleMania weekend. And I'm telling you right now, I was thinking about it. Who better to discuss my picks for who's going to win, who's going to lose, all that good stuff for WrestleMania weekend than the birthday boy, the man who just celebrated a milestone birthday, the pride of New England, our favorite brother here, Mr. Danny G. Danny G, what's up, brother?
Good morning, Duke. How you doing today, bud?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Listen, you're a year wiser. You've hit a big milestone. Talk to me about that, man. How does it feel to officially? Is it safe to say you're over the hill now?
Yes, 100%. 100%. Yep. I've hit the big 5-0. I'm 50. I'll be celebrating probably my 42nd year of watching wrestling of my life now. So, yeah, I'm officially over the hill. I'm one of those crabby old men that you see at the deli now. You know.
So now you know what happens now. Once you hit 50 plus, you can start telling people what you really think, and you know there's no filter anymore. You're too old to have a filter now.
Oh, come on, Duke. You know I've never had a filter to begin with.
Exactly.
And I mean, no, you're right. Now I can say what I want and whatever I want, But hey, age is just a number. I mean, if you ask my wife, she'll tell me I'm 15 years old. So, it is what it is.
It is what it is. It is. And listen, you're not going to need a filter for this conversation because WrestleMania weekend, for me personally, this is the biggest holiday of the year. It rivals my birthday for me because I've always had fond memories of WrestleMania. I've watched every single one of them. It matters to me. It's a big deal. So I'm so happy to finally get to this point. And listen, it's the day before WrestleMania, folks. You'll be hearing this today, Friday. But I'm so happy to get to this point that I don't even know how to explain my emotions because there's a calmness and a joy that will just continue to build, especially when the action starts. And it's going to be there at least until Tuesday night when NXT finally comes off the air for that episode, because we go right into the new WWE calendar, so to speak. Everything resets, new storylines begin, et cetera, et cetera. So this is the end of this tremendous, the most historic year in WWE history. WrestleMania ends that. So that's my story, Danny G. What's your story? What is WrestleMania and really this entire weekend? What does this mean to you?
Wrestling is the thing. I can honestly say it keeps me young. And, talking about my birthday or whatever. Yeah, it is, age is just a number. But wrestling is the one thing that keeps me young. And my fond memories, I didn't get to see the first WrestleMania in '85 because that was different. The whole closed circuit thing and everything. There was no pay-per-view back then. And then I did get to WrestleMania 2 at the old Providence Civic Center, which is now the AMP, and saw it on the on the screens over there. They basically set up a movie theater, and you bought tickets and you could go and you could watch. And then so I get to see that one. And then WrestleMania 3 is probably where I really started with the fond memories, because I remember going over to my best friend's house at the time and just being in awe of that card, seeing that large crowd there, watching the matches. Every single one of them was a great match. Up and you had Macho Man against Ricky Steamboat. That was a classic, and of course ending with Hogan Andre was another good one. That was Roddy Piper's first official retirement match, which was excellent. Brutus the Barber Beefcake kind of came out of that WrestleMania 3, so there was a lot of really good things. And wrestling for me, and I've said this a lot, in the group chats that we have, Duke and stuff. For me, it's something that it kind of brings family. I'm loving it now. My middle son is huge into wrestling now. Huge. He was at SummerSlam last year in Detroit. He goes to school in Michigan. His best friend lives in Chicago. He went to go see Survivor Series and got to see, he was there in person when CM Punk came out and sent me a video, and it was like, you could see the building shaking, and, he was just loving every minute of it. And now when they come around, I take my daughter to the events with me, and I've told you this story the last time, but we went and it was in Boston after the show was done. They do a couple of dark matches afterwards, and they were doing the first one, and we had really good seats, so you could kind of see everything that was getting set up. And it was for Cody, and she got so excited. She's like, "Dad, they're setting up for Cody's pyro right there," And then he came out, and it was just great. So it's like to me, it's a way that wrestling is a way that family can kind of blend together. I ignore all the noise you see on Twitter and all the IWC hate and stuff like that. I really don't care about any of that. I just enjoy the fact that I can sit down, and my kids won't be with me at this point this year, but you can sit down, you can watch wrestling, you can enjoy it as a family, and at the end of it, you can just move on, because ultimately it's a story. It's like a movie, and it's like it's my male soap opera, I guess. So wrestling is family to me, and that's why it means a lot to me. And this weekend, what WrestleMania has become from WrestleMania 1 in 1985 to WrestleMania 40 now, it's like it's gone from basically like a glorified house show to second to probably Super Bowl weekend, if you think about it.
Well said. Well said. I love that. So you have the entire family involved, so to speak here. Pieces of your childhood have become pieces of the childhood of your children. And hopefully they'll continue to pass it down as well, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the one thing that I did leave out is one of my fondest memories growing up is, they used to come around once a month growing up. They would go to Boston, they would go to Providence, they'd go to Worcester. So my father would always take me, and some of my fondest memories are from those old house shows from the Providence Civic Center, seeing Hulk Hogan live for the first time, seeing Macho Man Randy Savage win the old King of the Ring tournament over King Kong Bundy and stuff. So yeah, so some really, really, really great memories growing up for sure.
And certainly, folks, we are going to make some brand new memories, because WrestleMania XL, WrestleMania 40, is officially upon us here. So, Danny G, let's go through the matches, and I want to preface this: we're not going to spend 20 minutes on each match. That ain't happening. We're going to go quick.
Yep.
Folks, I know that you're going to hear everyone provide analysis and their predictions and all that nonsense. I don't care about that stuff. And I think through the years, you folks have realized that I'm not into redundant talking points. So we'll go through the highlights, so to speak. And I don't know if this match order is correct, Danny G. So please, the first match for night one seems a little odd to me. Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch for the WWE Women's World Championship. Who do you think is going to win that match, Danny G?
I think they're going to keep the belt on Rhea. I really do. Because and I'm only based this on the fact that Becky just released a book. I'm sure there's a big book tour coming or something like that. So, and I think they should keep the belt on Rhea because she's a dominant champion. And if that is the first match of the night, I actually kind of like it, only because Rhea's hot right now, and I think it'll help get the crowd into the match right away. I thought the Usos would start it off, but if this is what they're going to do first, I'm okay with that.
Good call. Good call. I think Rhea wins as well. She retains the Women's World Championship. And I think one of two things is going to happen. Either Rhea is going to get attacked that same night, maybe not during the match, but that same night, somebody's going to attack her, which will set up whoever she's going to feud with next. Hopefully that's Nia Jax. Or she's going to get attacked on the first Raw on Monday night. But I think that Rhea Ripley's next challenge is going to come along right away. We're not going to have to wait for it. I don't think there's going to be a return match with Becky Lynch anytime soon either. I think you're right. Becky's going to take some time off. Her contract is up. She may leave the company. So this very well could be her swan song. And if that's the case, then, good luck to her.
I definitely don't see her leaving the company, but yeah, you're right. No, I definitely think
if Tony Khan is paying women $10 million, she'd be a goofball not to leave the company.
She absolutely would be a goofball. I agree with you on that, but I also think she has a little self-respect.
Forget about self-respect is putting food on the table. She has a baby to support.
Yeah,
you can't turn down $10 million, and WWE certainly is not going to pay anybody that kind of money.
No.
They're just not. They don't have to, so they shouldn't. That's not good business. But Becky Lynch, she's a big enough name that she deserves to be paid as much, if not more, than 99.999% of the industry. So, if Sasha Banks, Mercedes, if she can get 10 million, then Becky Lynch should be able to get 10 million or more. So, AEW, Tony Khan said he's going to be aggressive with trying to sign free agents. I'm telling you right now, Becky Lynch, take the money. Go. Because WWE doesn't need you. Take the money. You can come back in a couple of years. Go take the money. Leave. Don't want you in WWE anymore anyway. So that's my take. And hey, have Ronda Rousey join you over there too. All of the castaways can go over there. Good luck. Maybe AEW will actually finally become something worth watching if enough former WWE stars go over there. Anyway, moving on. Gunther versus Sami Zayn for the WWE Intercontinental Championship. That would be amazing if that's the second match of WrestleMania, because this could be a main event in most instances. Who are you taking in that match?
You got to take Gunther. I definitely think Gunther retains. I don't think they're going to have the belt come off of him. I think eventually, honestly, the person that's going to beat Gunther is going to be Sheamus, if you ask me. So I definitely think he wins. I think Chad Gable is involved in this some way, shape, or form. I don't know how, but I definitely think he's in there either costing Sammy the match, or who knows, maybe he helps Gunther and somehow he becomes part of Imperium.
Yeah. There you go. Or Sammy can go back to the Bloodline, which I wouldn't mind seeing. I think that would be interesting. That would be fun. But I agree. I don't think it's time to take the belt off of Gunther. I don't necessarily see Gunther losing the belt. I think he may forfeit the belt and focus on the Raw Championship going forward.
I agree.
You know what I mean? I don't necessarily think you have to beat Gunther. He's been so dominant. Why bother? You know what I mean? But if you're going to do it, though, he's got to slip on a banana peel. It's got to be something quick. Maybe a Bobby Lashley or somebody just comes in, takes him out quick. It's over.
Yep.
But I agree
with that, Duke. I do, as I think it makes him look dominant, and he can head into the World Championship picture without looking flawed.
Yeah, which makes sense for sure. Next match, the Judgment Day, Finn Balor and Damian Priest, they're the champions, versus DIY, so that's Gargano and Ciampa, versus Awesome Truth, Miz and R-Truth, versus New Day, Kofi and Xavier Woods, versus A-Town Down Under, Theory and Grayson Waller, versus the New Catch Republic, Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate. This is the six-pack tag team ladder match for the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championship. And here's the thing. Both belts have to be taken off of the hook. So I think there's a possibility that they're going to split the tag team championships. It's not going to be undisputed. It's not going to be unified anymore. You're going to have a Raw tag team champion and a SmackDown tag team champion. So we could see two teams walk out as tag team champions in this match. With all that said, if you can remember everything I just said, who do you think is going to walk out champions there, Danny G?
Can I be honest with you? I agree with you that this is their way of splitting the titles, which is a smart way to do it. this is a bathroom break for me because I honestly, this is the one match on the card I can say I don't care about. I don't think the right teams are in there. So I don't really care too much about this one. But if you ask me to predict it, I think you got R-Truth and The Miz are going to walk out with one side and probably A-Town Down with the other side. Or I don't know. I just don't. I don't like who's in this match at all. I don't like the whole Pete Dunne Tyler Bate thing. I don't like Austin Theory and Grayson Waller as a tag team. DIY is much more of a flop than I thought they would actually work out as a tag team on the main roster, but they're not. I do like the R-Truth and The Miz. I think that's good. New Day always should be in there, but I mean, you don't have Pretty Deadly in there. You don't have Imperium in there. You don't have tag teams in there. Why is Alpha Academy not in there? Instead you've got some makeshift tag teams in there. To me, this is a bathroom break. I really don't care about this match.
Yeah, which it's WrestleMania. It's long, 2 nights, so bathroom breaks have to be in there, and you got to build new stars. So there's a purpose to it for sure. But I agree with you in terms of interest. This is probably a match that the least amount of people are interested in overall and on the entire card. There's a team that needs this victory. I think that you can make an argument for Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, A-Town Down Under. They need to walk out with one of those belts because they need to be made. They're not made yet. They don't really have direction yet. And making them champions certainly would help them out a lot. So I think, they get one of the belts. And if you're going to put the belts on anybody else other than them, the Awesome Truth makes a lot of sense. Miz and R-Truth makes a lot of sense. That'll be fun. You can always beat them and it won't be a problem. The Miz could always turn on R-Truth or vice versa, which would be interesting. Then they can feud. There's a lot you can do with that. I wouldn't mind if DIY won Gargano and Ciampa because they're lifelong wrestling fans, and that would be interesting for them to win the championships at WrestleMania. I think that would be a nice way to cap out their careers and then get rid of them in the next year. But wow, I'm going to get buried for saying that. But so I don't mind if they walk out with the titles just to give them that opportunity. Outside of that, though, you're right, man. There's such little interest in that match that it just is what it is.
R-Truth is the only reason I have any interest in the match right now, to be honest with you, because I just think the work he's doing is fantastic.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's amazing.
I feel like he still brings that good comedy relief, but it's not that 24/7 nonsense that went on forever.
Agreed. All right, next match, we have Jey Uso versus Jimmy Uso. This is a grudge match, a family grudge match here, brother versus brother. I think Jey Uso has to win this match. I know I normally ask you for your opinion first, but I got to throw this out here. I think Jey Uso has to win this match because if he doesn't win the match, then he's not main event Jey Uso anymore. You really can't justify having him be in that Sheamus, Drew McIntyre previously. I think McIntyre has kind of gone from being a B player to being an A- player now. Jey Uso is like a C plus B minus player. And if you want to get him into that B plus A minus area, he's got to win this match. But anything can happen. So I'm going with Jey Uso, but who do you think is going to win, Denny?
Oh, I absolutely think Jey Uso wins this match, 100%. He is pretty over with the crowd, which is good.
Number one T-shirt, right?
Yeah, he's over with the crowd, and you're right. I mean, they gotta start establishing some more people to be able to bring on the road and to be able to attract the gate and like house shows and to bring eyes on television. And I think Jey Uso can be that guy. I mean, I love the main event nickname. I don't ever see him being in the actual main event as a champion or anything, but I do enjoy his work. I definitely think he wins this match. And reading back, you never know what the dirt sheets are, whether they're right or wrong or not. But I reading something saying that they had something pretty special planned for him for WrestleMania weekend. So this should be a good time.
Agreed. And I think this
is going to be a good match. This is going to be worth watching.
I think there's a way for Solo to be involved in that match as well and accidentally hit the wrong guy, or for Solo and The Rock and Roman or even some of the elders to come out and tell the brothers to stop fighting each other. We need to come back together. You know what I mean? And you can even plant the seed of that. and have that continue to play out throughout the weekend. Because what if Jey Uso goes back to the bloodline? What if he somehow interferes with one or both of the main events for night 1 and night 2?
I mean,
So there's so much. I mentioned Sami Zayn earlier. There's so much you can do with all of these folks to continue this bloodline story. So yeah, I think Jay wins that, but I think that there's a lot of meat on that bone that this ain't the end of that, not
I
by a
mean,
long shot.
something to think about. It was Cody Rhodes that brought Jey Uso over to Monday Night Raw.
Yep.
So it could very well be a super kick from Jey Uso that helped cost Cody Rhodes against Roman on night 2.
Indeed, which would be awesome. Next up, 6-woman tag team match: Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, and Naomi versus Damage Control, Dakota Kai, Asuka, and Kairi Sane. Who is going to win this match?
Bianca, Jade, and Naomi for sure. I think it's going to be a squash. I think this is Jade's, coming out party. I think they're going to make her look very dominant in this match. I think Bianca and Naomi are going to get theirs in too, but they're going to support her. And I think this is a good way to actually keep the tag belts on Damage Control, for the women's tag belts, because I actually think keeping the belts on them is a good idea. But I see this being a glorified squash.
Agreed 100%. And I'll take it a step further. Although I do believe that Bianca, Jade, and Naomi will win this match, because it will be a great coming out party for Jade. You got to feature her. You got to give her some confidence. You got to make the fans believe in her beyond just the fact that she's a specimen and she looks impressive.
I think I know where you're going with this, but I want to hear it. I want to hear it from you.
But I need somebody to turn on somebody.
I knew it.
Can happen at the end of the match. Absolutely. Somebody's got to turn on somebody. And I've been racking my brain what the better combination is. On one hand, if Bianca turns on Naomi and then Jade sees that happen and then she joins in as well and they both just beat the hell out of Naomi, that would be fantastic, because you could establish a heel tag team right away because Naomi's beloved. Or you could have Jade and Bianca having some kind of communication problems in the match where, Jade is showing up Bianca and Bianca's like, what's this lady's problem? And then out of nowhere, after they win, Naomi attacks Bianca and then Jade joins in, because Bianca's a lovable babyface. She's the bigger babyface in the ring. But I don't want to see the three of those ladies walk out of WrestleMania together. I think that's ridiculous. I think we need to put our foot on the gas and start making things happen here. So, because they shouldn't be coexisting with each other. And if you're going to split them because you're going to do the draft and all that stuff, that's cool. But give them a reason to matter. Give them a reason. Give the fans a reason to care more about what's going on with these women. And the best way you can do it is to have somebody do a turn. So, but Jade shouldn't be on her own. I think if she gets paired up with Naomi, that would be fantastic, because then Jade could learn the WWE way, and she has a veteran that's built in right there who, she can lean on. And Naomi can switch to heel. It's kind of goofy, but Jade is so imposing that it could work, that tag team. So,
you know what would be great?
What's that?
Put Jade with Paul Heyman.
Absolutely.
That would be so good.
Absolutely.
That's
that
what
would
should have done with Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, I agree, because Ronda Rousey was the complete what's on the mic. She was terrible on the mic.
Yeah.
And that's why the fans never bought into her on the mic.
Yeah.
So I agree with that.
She got good when they knew she wasn't going to re-sign, and they finally just let her do her own thing.
Yeah, and she started being herself.
And she went out and played the heel character, and she was fantastic.
She wasn't playing.
No, exactly, 100%.
Being herself.
She was playing with she was being the badass that she legitimately is.
Yeah, exactly.
Her biggest problem, I'll say this, Duke, and I wish I could have said this to her the other night. You know what her biggest problem was? She tried too hard to fit in.
No, she didn't try too hard to fit in. The company made her fit in. They told her that's who your character is.
Yeah. I mean like in the locker room with the other wrestlers and the girls and stuff like that. Like Brock Lesnar doesn't try to fit in. He shows up, he does his thing, he leaves. That's pretty much what she should have done.
Yeah, but she's a fan.
Yeah,
Brock
I know.
Lesnar was never a fan.
True.
See. The thing about Ronda is that legitimately she's a fan. She
Yeah.
loves WWE and she loves the history of it. She loves pro wrestling. So I think that she was starstruck just being around all those women. And unfortunately, she didn't anticipate the competition in terms of you're coming into our industry, you're main eventing, you're taking spots, you're being celebrated while we're being pushed off to the side. So, Sasha Banks had a problem with that. Charlotte had a problem with that. You start going down the line, they all had a problem with it.
Yep.
Becky Lynch had a problem with it. And rightfully so, I think. I think that it's healthy to have a problem with that because you know that you're going to be here after the fact and she won't be.
Yeah.
So,
I do agree with that. I do agree. I do agree. But
so the fangirl in
just
her
think they
got in the
fumbled
way.
her. I just think they fumbled her. I think there was so much money to be made and they just blew it.
Yeah, they should just let her beat the shit out of it. And look, I swore it doesn't happen often on the show, folks. But hey, I'm coming up on 8 years, so I'm leaving it in. I think she should have just beat the shit out of everybody, and you should have just had her be Lesnar, and eventually you have a lovable baby face pull off the victory, a la pull a Ricky Morton where you didn't even see it coming or something like that.
Yep.
That would have been the best way to book that character. And instead, they overthought it and it didn't make sense in terms of from a creative standpoint. But because Ronda Rousey is Ronda Rousey as a brand, it still made money and it
Yeah.
still generated enough buzz that the company still ended up, it was a success. You can't say it was anything less. We just didn't like the creative of it,
Yeah.
But
I think right now, Duke, I think all this stuff that she's going on record, I think this is all part of an eventual storyline. That's just my take. I think that they've been wanting to incorporate more real life stories into it, so that fits perfect.
yeah, I agree. And the tragedy of it all, and this just again, it proves how big of a deal Ronda Rousey is. We're talking about WrestleMania, which is 2 nights, and we got all these matches to go through. And yet we just spent the last couple of minutes talking about
I
somebody
know.
who's no
I'm
longer in the
sorry. That's
company
my
and who's
fault. I
not
went
even
on
on
a
the card.
tangent.
You know what I mean? But that
Yep.
just shows you how big of a deal Ronda Rousey is.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Even in this sense, she's important enough that we could literally stop what we're doing just to talk about her. That's amazing. That's amazing. All right, moving on to the next one here. LWO, so that's Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee, who was just brought into LWO recently, versus Santos Escobar and Dirty Dominic Mysterio. So this is just a basic tag team match here. The two Mysterios lock up again at WrestleMania, this time in a tag match here. But who do you think is going to win? Is it going to be Ray and Dragon Lee, or is it going to be Santos and Dom?
I think it's going to be Santos and Dom, who is the one wrestler I will come on the show and say I was 100% wrong about. What a great job he has done over the past year, really, really elevating himself and his character. He's fantastic. I love watching him come out and come out now. I'm hoping they do some sort of really good entrance for him again too, because that entrance was one of the best entrances ever last year. But I think they come out on top, and I think this will lead to probably Dominic versus Ray at SummerSlam as like a mask versus hair type match or something like that.
Sure, or a retirement match, either or. I first of all, I agree with you. I think Santos and Dom have to win this match. It just makes sense.
I like Santos a lot too. I mean, I'm not always,
Sure.
he's a smaller guy and whatnot, but I enjoy him. I think he's really good. He's really good in the ring.
He is what I had hoped Andrade would be.
100%.
I had hoped that Andrade would be a bigger deal that we could care about. And Santos, I never wanted to care about him, but it was hard not to care about him because you're absolutely right. Cuts great promos.
Yep.
He looks great. Facials are great. When the match is going on, he can wrestle his what off. He's fantastic. So shout out to Santos and Dom.
He can go with the big guys. That's
he
what
can
I
go with the big
like
guys.
to see.
Exactly. And with Dom, I mean, goodness gracious, give me LA Knight and Dom for the IC title. I want that feud. You know what I mean? And there's no reason why we can't have it.
Well,
So
you know my take on Dom. I want him to take the NXT title so Obafama can take it off of him.
yeah, Obafemi, yeah, that would make sense too. And I think that there's a path to get to all of that. I think that makes a lot of sense. So yeah, so Dom and Santos.
Yeah, Dom Mysterio, I think, is this generation's Randy Orton. where
Agreed.
I think he'll be with WWE his entire career. He won't go anywhere else, and he will be over no matter what role he is for the next 20 years.
Yeah, yeah. He's getting into that level of he's only a couple of world titles away from being a Hall of Famer, and that sounds ridiculous. And I know somebody listening right now is going to say, "Duke, you're going too far,"
Oh,
but I'm not. That's how
no,
over this kid is already.
it's long-term thinking. It's long-term
You
thinking.
know.
It's the truth. It's the truth. And the best part about him is he looks like a genuine nice guy.
Well, he is,
Yeah.
and I think I'm going to take it a step further than that. Not only a nice guy, I think he's a gentle guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think he legitimately is a gentle human being. But he has figured out, and shout out to everybody in Judgment Day. Yeah, his dad can train him on how to wrestle and all that good stuff. And he has access to everybody. And Conan helping him with the mentoring and stuff like that. Shout out to Conan. But whatever Judgment Day has instilled in him, it is clear that not only did it stick, but that he has been able to apply it beyond any expectations. Like the kid legitimately is he's one of the top 3 most important people in the company, in my opinion.
Yep. I agree.
Especially for the future of the company.
Rhea,
You know?
Rhea said it on Logan Paul's podcast. She flat out said, people don't realize what he does for the company right now.
Exactly.
She said he is at every event, every show, no complaints. He goes out there, he does his work, he's getting booed, he's a workhorse. He deserves that. He deserved that 5-year contract.
100%. 100%. I agree. And you know, and I don't mind saying this. I think the way that AEW positions Orange Cassidy, where he's always wrestling and stuff like that, and legitimately he's one of the faces of the company because he's always there doing something. I think in his own way, Dom is like that for the WWE, which is a much bigger scale. And the future of the company rests on Dom Mysterio's shoulders. There's no question about that.
Agreed. Agreed.
He's going to be the heater for everybody. Last for night 1, main event, the Bloodline. So the tribal chief, Roman Reigns, and his cousin, the final boss, The Rock, versus Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. Now, this is a tag team match where if Cody and Rollins win, all members of the Bloodline will be barred from ringside during the undisputed WWE Universal Championship on night 2. If Rock and Reigns win, the championship match on night 2 will be held under Bloodline rules, whatever the hell that is. I don't care about any of that stuff. Before we give analysis, just give it to me straight. Who wins the match?
Oh, it's gonna be Roman and Rock.
Okay. Why?
Because they're gonna something's gonna happen on SmackDown tonight where Cody and Seth are gonna look strong, and then going into tomorrow, the Bloodline's gonna look strong going into night 2. They're gonna make Roman look extremely dominant. Yeah, I can't say how it's going to go, how it's going to end. That's one of the beauties of this WrestleMania season is not being able to predict it for once. But I definitely think that they win. I think the Bloodline wins.
I agree
They
with
want
you.
to stack the deck against Cody and Seth maybe too. For the night 2.
Well, I agree with you, and I think that you have to eliminate Seth from the match. So there's different ways you can do it. First of all, yes, Rock and Roman are going to win this match. So let me make that clear to everybody. Rock and Roman wins. You got to eliminate Seth. So either Drew McIntyre or Damian Priest. What if Damian Priest in the middle of that match cashes in and he pins Seth Rollins and he becomes champion, and then he runs out, and then Rollins is just he's spent. So now Cody has to fight Rock and Roman all by himself, and he loses that match. Gets beat down. He's destroyed, right? You could do it that way. You could do it another way where Rollins gets distracted and he runs out and doesn't make it back in time and Cody gets beat down. You could have Rollins turn on Cody because Cody hits him by accident or something. And then Rollins like, forget this. I got to defend my title tomorrow, and just walks off. So there are ways to do it, but I know Seth Rollins cannot be in a position where he can help Cody Rhodes all the way to the end of that match. That does not make any sense. You got to eliminate him. It's got to be about making Cody Rhodes look like he has all the odds stacked against him, and it's just not even. There's no way our hero can come out on top. You got to do it to him for night one in order to set up the best scenario for night two. So I agree with you. Bloodline wins. Okay, let's go to night two now. In first match, Rollins versus Drew McIntyre for the World Heavyweight Championship. Who wins?
McIntyre in a squash.
Okay, I can see it, and especially if Rollins is injured because of whatever happened in night one, that makes sense. I believe that Damian Priest is going to factor into this match. He's going to factor in with that title. So maybe not this match, but that title one way or another. So either he's cashing in on night one on Rollins, or he's going to cash in during this match, and it's going to turn into a triple threat match. But I can see a scenario where Priest actually wins the title night one, which I said, and then loses the title night two to McIntyre. And that way, Seth never really lost to McIntyre, so you can still preserve that feud. And now you got McIntyre and Priest who can feud while Seth Rollins takes time off, or Seth Rollins leaves the company and goes to AEW. You got to get that belt moving on to its next thing.
Yeah,
and Damian Priest has not cashed in yet. He still has that money in the bank briefcase. You got to do something with this guy. It's time. So what better way than to have a cash-in scenario now? So that's my take there. I think McIntyre walks out of night two champion, but I think Damian Priest has a possibility of being the transitional champion in 24 hours.
We can't discount the CM Punk factor in all this either, too.
Great point. Great. He could cost McIntyre. That's a great point.
I actually think he's going to cost Rollins. I think he's going to cost Rollins because I know they're setting up the whole Drew McIntyre CM Punk storyline for after Mania, which makes sense. And I would be willing to bet that Seth is going to get some time off too, which is well deserved because he's also a workhorse. You know, he's at all the events and stuff like that. So I'm sure he's due for some time off as well. And I think I actually think he's going to cost Seth the match, and Drew's going to take the title. And that's going to set up for, the Drew versus CM Punk feud for a little while to go forward. And then, Seth comes back, say SummerSlam-ish or somewhere around there. And that's when he and CM Punk will finally maybe get their program going or whatnot. But, I mean, if you think about it, though, go to AEW, what better than to have Seth Rollins go to AEW and, the anti-AEW and shows up in the company.
Absolutely. And he can go. I don't listen, Seth Rollins, I respect you, and I believe that you deserve to get paid more than whatever you're getting paid now. And it's not going to happen in WWE because you'll never overshadow Roman Reigns. So you might as well go to the B side, make them pay you what you are worth, and everybody wins. So, see you later, pal.
You know what though? We will not go on an anti-AEW rant right here, but Tony wouldn't mess that up. It doesn't matter who goes there; he screws it up.
True, and he can screw it up if he wants, but at least the wrestler's getting paid.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean? I
wish that we could really like wrestlers' contract terms were released like NFL players. You know what I mean? I wish that we don't need
to know that stuff. Like that, we don't need to know that stuff. That's their business. We don't need to.
No, it is. I know, but it's interesting stuff.
It's interesting stuff in terms of if there's another company that's willing to pay more money, WWE has to make a decision. Do I need you enough to pay you whatever you want? Or we got more talent that they can have, as Vince McMahon said before. We got more talent we could give them. You know what I mean? And I think we got more. I don't think there's anyone in that company other than Roman Reigns and The Rock, John Cena. I don't think there's anyone else in that company who you can't live without. So everybody else, pack your bags and go get the money. You don't need to be here. We got an NIL program. We got NXT. We got a steady stream of people that we can build up and make, and they'll be headlining pay-per-views and making more money for us than you ever did. So, there's no love, there's no loyalty, there's no self-respect and none of that. No, there's none of that. Go get your money, because who knows how long that gravy train is going to last over there with Tony Khan. And in the meantime, WWE is going to continue to be great. That's just the reality of it.
It is. But we don't know. We don't know. I mean, you're right. They don't technically need anybody, and that's been proven. Whatever. But I definitely think people like Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch and Drew McIntyre have been so valuable to the company that they will want to keep them around for a while.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
And I think the thing with WWE too is these they may not get the bag that Tony Khan is willing to cough up, but they'll get the opportunities outside of the company that they wouldn't get in AEW. They get that extra exposure. A guy like Drew McIntyre can be in a movie. Becky Lynch has made a couple of appearances on TV shows, been very good. Seth was in a Marvel movie, although his part got cut. But I definitely think that that's where if they're smart and they think long term, where WWE is the better place to be. Like I said, what we talked about before, after wrestling. I think some of these people like Drew and Seth and Becky think after wrestling.
Absolutely. So, but again, after wrestling, you need to pay medical bills and you need to put food on the table. You need to make sure that your family is set up with some kind of legacy. And, moments are nice. And I think that Seth and Becky, there's really not much more they can accomplish in WWE. So if somebody else is going to pay you more and you can reinvent yourself, so to speak, elsewhere, why wouldn't you want to do that? I think it just makes perfect. Now, look, TNA can't pay you what you're worth, so you're not going to go there. Japan is not going to pay you what you're worth, so you're not going to go there. But if Tony Khan, with his irresponsible, non-ability to manage a checkbook properly if he's willing to just flush money down the toilet, then brother, you better go in there like Mr. Clean and get as much as you can.
Yeah, and wipe your ass with the money he's giving you.
Absolutely. Mercedes Moné has been in the company for a couple of weeks, like 3 weeks now, and they've had some of the worst ratings consistently during that time period.
It's
Okada, Will Ospreay, they keep failing.
And
so
I mean, I've watched, Mercedes. It's like she forgot how to talk.
No, she was never good. She was never good at cutting promos, man.
No, but she was better than she is now.
I don't know about that. I think WWE, they probably were writing for her, which allowed her to have clear speed bumps. And she was able to just kind of fit in the pocket, but she was never the best promo. Her wrestling, her presence, her heel work, that was always the thing that was a draw.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, if you're the CEO, what are you doing basically a little stripper dance? I don't understand it.
And why, if you're the CEO, if you're the legit boss, if you're the one who came into the company to turn it over, why are you going after a secondary title?
Listen, because she's black. And we know Tony Khan has a problem with putting black women in that title picture. Jade Cargill, Athena, what's her name? Red Velvet. We can go down the list of all the black women who have wrestled in AEW under contract. And for some strange reason, when it comes to the world championship that they have over there for women, black women ain't getting it. The only black woman that ever even held that title, and she was embarrassed a couple of times, is Nyla Rose. Yep. So, you know what I mean? So we know what Tony Khan is all about when it comes to that. It's embarrassing. You're paying her that much money to go for your useless secondary title? Are you kidding me?
Oh, yeah.
Embarrassing. Meanwhile, you never did that to Moxley, right?
Nope.
You never did that to Moxley. You never did that to Danielson. We can go down the list. She's getting paid their kind of money. You never did that to Punk. So why are you doing it to her? Embarrassing. But hey, they're a big enough deal that we stopped talking about WrestleMania to talk about that. Let's move on here. Io Sky versus Bayley. Let's go rapid fire on these. WWE Women's Championship. Who wins here? Io Sky versus Bayley.
Bayley wins. This is a WrestleMania moment.
Bayley gets a WrestleMania moment finally. I agree. LA Knight versus AJ Styles.
AJ Styles, because they're going to keep the feud going after WrestleMania for sure.
That's fair. I think LA Knight needs this win, but I understand that if he can keep the feud going.
He does, but he's over enough, and I think they need, AJ's doing some decent heel work here. So I think, they need these two guys going forward for a little bit more. So I think I could see these guys eventually feuding for like the Intercontinental or the US title.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Logan Paul versus Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens, triple threat match for the WWE United States Championship. Who wins?
Logan Paul comes out on top in some cheap way.
Absolutely. Those two guys will cancel each other out, Randy Orton and Kevin Owens, which is great. They should.
Yeah.
Logan Paul, keep that belt on him. He brings a lot of prestige to WWE just by nature of his following. So that's good stuff.
And he's actually good. He can go.
He's good. Yeah, he's very good. He's very good. The Pride. So Bobby Lashley, Dawkins, and Montez Ford with B-Fab versus the Final Testament. Karrion Kross, Akam Razar with Scarlett and Paul Ellering. 6-man tag team Philadelphia street fight. So this will be a fluff match, but who do you think is going to win?
I think this is going to be a fun match, believe it or not, and I think that the Pride comes out on top. I definitely do. I'm seeing a push for those three guys into the next year. I actually think it's going to be a fun match.
Agreed. I agree. And listen, shout out to Angelo Dawkins. His mom just passed away recently. You don't beat somebody under those circumstances at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I think he deserves a happy moment. He's going to earn it. You're not giving it to him. He's going to earn it. But I think that he deserves a happy moment given the circumstances. And what better way than at the biggest WrestleMania ever, you come out victorious. So, the Pride definitely wins that. Last and certainly least, Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes, the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. Who wins?
This is going to kill me to say this, Duke, because I'm a Cody crybaby. I'm excited. I'm going to have my Cody t-shirt on. I'm going to be pumped. I'm going to be saying, finish the story. But Roman comes out on top.
Wow. Okay.
There's so much more they can do with the bloodline. It's such a good story. He is doing such good work right now. He doesn't have that much time left, So I think they're going to keep this going for a little while. Cody will finish the story, but I don't think it's going to happen this weekend.
I think that if you don't allow us, if Cody Rhodes doesn't win this weekend, you're hurting that character. And I think that doesn't mean that you can't overcome the hurt, because they just did it for the past year. You hurt the character last year when he didn't win, but people care more about him now, and he's a bigger name now, and even mainstream is starting to at least say his name now. So that's a big deal.
Yep.
Kudos to WWE for pulling that off, because that's not easy to do. And certainly The Rock
has helped.
Got you over the top with beating the hell out of Cody. So it allows people who are talking about The Rock to talk about Cody. So that's great. If you don't put the belt on him now, you're hurting that character. And I don't know if they can find a way to make Cody bigger without being champion. So for that reason, I believe that they are going to make Cody champion, but Cody's not going to hold that belt for long. I think he loses that title before the year is over. We're not going into WrestleMania with Cody Rhodes being the Universal Champion during his first title reign. He might lose the belt and then get it back, but he's certainly not going to be champion without being interrupted for the next year. I don't see that happening because he's just not big enough. And despite the fact that he's made some strides, he's just not big enough, So I agree with you. I can see a path where they do have Roman retain and him and The Rock battle for that belt, but you're going to hurt that character, and you're going to make it more difficult for yourself if you don't give Cody something. You got to give him something, man. You can take it off him right away, but you got to give him something, man.
Yeah,
so that's why I think Cody's going to win.
And the one thing we'll say as we're getting close to wrapping up here is, I think you'll agree with me on this. The beauty of this WrestleMania is actually not knowing. We're giving our opinions. We're talking about what we think will happen, but we for once don't know. I mean, even in the main event, like in my back of my head, I'm saying, all right, this is how it's going to end. Cody's going to have Roman, Cody Cutter 1, Cody Cutter 2. He's going to go for the third one, just like last year. And there's Solo. Solo's going to be there to go to spike him. But The Rock's going to step up, block it, point to Cody and say, finish the story, and that's how it ends. But that's too predictable. I don't know what's going to happen this year. I honestly don't know. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Absolutely. Danny G, what's the best way people can keep up with you and all of your musings?
I'm at Wicked Smart on the old X, pretty much. And, Daniel F. and Garvin on Instagram, where I just kind of post pictures of my family and, pictures of me with Trish Stratus and Ronda Rousey. But other than that, again, I'm on social media. I like to have fun. I'm not going to block you. I may not agree with everything everybody says, but I like to have fun on there. It's kind of what I do to help myself relax.
This is Tony Schiavone, and we're desperately out of time on Duke Loves Wrestling.